Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is yet another vlog and unboxing. I was sent another box of goodies by a good friend of mine, Jonathan, and he wanted me to do an unboxing and do another letter reading, so here we are. Also, there was a few other odds and ends I kind of wanted to talk about. I did get some more stuff in terms of Blu-rays, and I don't know if I got, well, I might have some DVDs, but I got Blu-rays. But I'm waiting for some stuff to arrive in the mail before I do another video. I'll probably do a whole nother Christmas update or post-Christmas update or something like that and showcase those particular titles. But let's get into the gifts that Jonathan sent me. He said it was a mother load, and he wasn't kidding. So here we have the 30th anniversary 4K release of Total Recall. So now I can get my ass to Mars in 4K. Another 4K release of Home Alone. I am a huge fan of this film, and I'm looking forward to checking this out in 4K. Just in time for the holidays. I know somebody asked me if I still have my reviews of this film and the second one. I don't, because I deleted them back when I was worried that the FTC was going to come after my ass with COPPA. So I might do new reviews of this and the sequel, but I'm not going to make any guarantees because, as you can see, by the time this video is uploaded, I don't really have a whole lot of time left to upload Christmas films in terms of reviews in time for the holidays. But I'll consider it. Then we have the Criterion release of The Elephant Man for the David Lynch collection. 4K release of Starship Troopers. Really looking forward to seeing how that transfer looks. Another 4K release, this time for Evil Dead. And then we have Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn. That's not it, folks. Still got more. So, next up we have the Criterion release of Island of Lost Souls. Blu-ray of Batman Ninja? That might be pretty cool. An anime version of Batman. I already like how the penguin on the back here is clearly inspired by the design from Batman Returns. So Batman Ninja, It Chapter 2. Okay, I'll take it. To be honest, I am more curious about this one anyway. I've always been more curious about this particular part of the story. I'm one of the few people out there that like the second part of the miniseries with the kids all grown up more than the first part. So, admittedly, I'm still curious to see how this is. So now I can check it out. Then we have The Collector on Blu-ray. Nice. I can upgrade my DVD. The Collector. Then we have Wonder Woman, Bloodlines. I don't think I've seen the first Wonder Woman animated movie. So this might be interesting. And we have The Hobbit Motion Picture Trilogy on Blu-ray. I've never seen all three of these. I saw the first one in the theater and I thought it was so boring, I almost walked out. I'm not kidding. I did actually walk out. I walked out and went to the restroom and looked at the arcade games and then walked back in and then watched the rest of it. I think I saw the second one and The Desolation of Smog, and I remember that being a little bit better, but I haven't seen the third one. I have never seen Battle of the Five Armies, and I'm glad to have this for the collection because I just got the Lord of the Rings extended edition trilogy box set. Then we have another anime called Galaxy Express 999. First time I've ever heard of this one. Definitely looks like it might be interesting. And then we have Wacko's Christmas Wish. for the Animaniacs collection. So yeah, that's it for the DVDs and the Blu-rays and the gifts. And I want to give Jonathan once again a really special thanks for these wonderful gifts, for his support on my channel, and for all the kind words and for his friendship. I also want to give you all a very special thanks for your support, kind words, and everything. It means a lot to me, especially when it comes to this year, which has been a rough year for a lot of people, including myself. I've been blessed enough to be able to have had a roof over my head and been able to sustain myself and been able to still work. But there's a lot of people out there that haven't been able to do that, who have lost their jobs, who are dealing with a lot of hard times right now. And it really does put things into perspective when it comes to how things are going with my life. It may not be going in the direction that I personally would like it to be going in terms of what's going on with my career path and so on and so forth, but it definitely could be worse. So I really do appreciate everything immensely. And yeah, I'm going to get to the letter, but I want to share a few thoughts on a few things. I recently got some news that there will be a 4K release of Gattaca, which is going to be coming out sometime in 2021. I am really psyched for that. Apparently, they're doing a new remaster. I love that film. It's also one of the most visually impressive and stunning films of the 2000s. And I think that film would look great. Actually, I mean, I think it's like a late 90s movie. But regardless, it's one of the most visually impressive and stunning films of its particular time period. And if that transfer is done right, that could be a jaw-dropping release. So I'm definitely going to keep an eye out on that one. There is going to be a 4K release of Spaceballs from Kino Lorber. That's my favorite science fiction comedy, one of my favorite comedies, period, my favorite Mel Brooks movie. It's not going to have any new features, which I'm not surprised by, but it is porting over the old features. But it's going to have a new transfer. I'm pretty excited for that release. I've seen some trailers for some newer films like Mr. Nobody. I think that's what it's called, or I think it's actually just called Nobody. And with Bob Odenkirk of Mr. Show fame in a casting that nobody saw coming, directed by the guy who did Hardcore Henry. That looks like it's definitely got some potential. I am on board with that one. I'm definitely curious to check that one out, that's for sure. In terms of any other news, well, I wanted to give my thoughts on Tom Cruise's recent meltdown on the set of the latest Mission Impossible movie. I know there are people that are against him. I think he went too far. I think he's spoiled or so on and so forth. I'm not one of them. And it's not just because I'm a fan of Tom Cruise when it comes to his films. I think Tom had every right to be upset as he was. Some people need to get yelled at to understand the gravity of the situation that they're in. Some people need to get slapped into reality. And it seemed like these employees were not following protocols, were not following the rules, and it seems like they weren't taking it seriously. So, if that's the case, Tom had every right to chew into them. And it's honestly pretty refreshing to see someone of Tom's status and caliber to not be afraid to chew them out. Because he probably is getting backlash right now. Not probably, he is from a lot of people. But you know what? He said what needed to be said. Some people don't understand the gravity of the situation right now. You need to follow the right protocols, especially if you're one of the few people in this industry that is struggling to even stay afloat that is actually working right now. Tom, he's not just an actor, he's also a producer. So I think people need to understand the context of things. Tom's under even more stress because of what's going on in the film industry with everything being turned completely upside down because of COVID. And on top of that, he is keeping this production alive and running with money that's probably out of his own pocket. So it's not just a spoiled actor blowing up on the crew, like, for instance, a Christian Bale when it comes to his rant on the set of Terminator Salvation. This time around, it's someone who has a lot at stake. And I think he's right. He's in the right. Could he have maybe went about it a different way? Absolutely. But he probably just broke down under the stress. Tom Cruise may seem like he's an alien to some, but he's honestly a human being like the rest of us. And stress gets to people. And Tom is not alone in that. So I think it was a combination of things. And he just finally broke. And he didn't want to be the one to call up the people who were following the protocol, who were following the rules, and to tell them that they're also out of a job now. So, yeah, I think Tom actually did care. I think he cared a lot, maybe too much. And that's why he went on the tirade and the rant that he ultimately went on, is because he cared as much as he did for his fellow coworkers, his employees, his cast, his crew, and for the industry. So I don't think he was in the wrong with what he did, and I think some people are just looking at this as an excuse or another reason to pile on Tom Cruise because they've never been a fan of his, and they really think he's just some spoiled Hollywood guy who is just treating all his employees like dirt. I understand that some employees did quit after this. I'm wondering if it's the same employees that were chewed out by Tom. If that's the case, I mean, you can't take the heat. I guess you didn't take what he said to heart. Then you couldn't handle it. But if it's some other people that just felt uncomfortable, so be it. I mean, if I was in that situation and Tom yelled at me, I would just be like, "Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It won't happen again, sir. You know, I apologize." It's like, I don't want to hear apologies. It's like, okay, I understand. I made a mistake, and it will absolutely 100% not happen again. I understand the gravity of the situation. I understand what you're going through, what we're all going through. I am so sorry, sir. It will not happen again. And if it does, you have every right to fire me. That's how I would look at it if I was in the situation that the people were in who were getting yelled at. That being said, we don't necessarily have all of the context of what is happening here, but from what I know, I think Tom was in the right. Now we get to the letter portion of the video. So Jonathan says he hopes I enjoy the gifts. I definitely will. Thank you. Total Recall and Starship Troopers both look amazing on 4K. Wacko's Wish is now making your Animaniacs collection complete. Hoping you enjoy Galaxy Express 999. So I'm going to introduce you to Captain Harlock. Oh, okay. I've heard about Captain Harlock. It's like a space pirate, right? But I've never actually seen it. Okay, cool. Says something about in-jokes and Project A-ko. Another film that he sent me. It was a movie that also got a theatrical release in 1980, but it was cut just like Warriors of the Wind. Home Alone looks great in 4K. Elephant Man's new restoration is stunning. Lost Souls looks better than any bootleg DVD fans held on to for a decade waiting for a release. Since Lethal Weapon got a show, what do you think of the Riggs and Murtaugh Riggs and Murtaugh replaced by new actors, or there are no substitutes for Riggs and Murtaugh. From what I've seen, that's not Riggs and Murtaugh. I don't even know why they tried to call him Riggs and Murtaugh. It should have just been some different characters altogether. It shouldn't even been a Lethal Weapon show. Just come up with a different name. Have your own franchise. Did I hear about the Home Alone remake? Yes, I did. Starring that kid from Jojo Rabbit. It's Disney. I'm not surprised. I honestly, that was the film I pegged to get remade by Disney as soon as they bought Fox. I was like, they're going to do it. They're going to remake Home Alone. Whoa. And that's exactly what they're doing right now. What a shocker. Chris Columbus even says it's a waste of time as you can't strike lightning in a bottle twice. Exactly. And you're right when you say it's nothing like the 50s Fly because of technology. Yeah, I do think Macaulay Culkin, if I can speak right now, Macaulay Culkin is the only Kevin McAllister. We've seen other actors, kid actors, try to play Kevin. The results weren't pretty in the other sequels. In like the fourth and the fifth film. We do not need some other kid trying to be Kevin. Yeah, I do still think he's in the same league as all those other film characters that you mentioned here, like Rocky or RoboCop or John McClane, Marty McFly, so on and so forth. Um, Thank you for the compliment on the rant on the Home Alone article. Definitely was a shitty article. How many stars do I give the following movies? Darkman, Evil Dead, Drag Me to... Okay, so we have Darkman films. Darkman, the first movie, 4.5. Darkman 2, Return of Durant, 2.5. Darkman 3, surprisingly thought that was above average, so I give it 3.5. Keep in mind, these are out of 5 stars. Evil Dead films, first film, I think I'm going to do 4.5. Second one, 4.5. Army of Darkness, 4. Drag Me to Hell, 2 stars. Kids, 2.5. I'm sorry, I just wasn't really that impressed with it. Veronica, oh god. Fuck. Can I give it like a 3/4 of a star? I'll just give it 1 star. Popcorn, 3.5. It's a fun movie, fun above average, entertaining flick. Lost Boys movies, first film, 4 stars. Second film, 1. Third movie, The Thirst, I really liked it. I'm going to give it 4 stars as well. I think it's on the same level. Sue me. Uh, um, House of a Thousand Corpses, 3 stars. Devil's Rejects, uh, I would say it's better, so 3.5. 3 from Hell, 1. Haunted World of El Super Beasto. It's another above average film for me. I give it 3.5 stars. Lords of Salem, 1.5. 31. 2. Trick or Treat. I still ultimately I still like the film. It might surprise some people, but I'm going to give it 3.5 out of 5 stars. Tales of Halloween, 3 stars. When a Stranger Calls, 1 and 2. The first film, I'm going to give it... I think I'm going to give that one 3.5. And then the second one, I'm also going to give 3.5. They're both above average films for the most part. The first film has a really good opening, but a weak middle and a so-so ending. The second one has a better middle and a better ending. Another more to think about it, I actually like When a Stranger Calls Back more, so I think I'm going to give When a Stranger Calls 3, and I'm going to give When a Stranger Calls Back 3.5. Antebellum, disappointing, 2 stars. Death Becomes Her, I really like the movie. I'm going to give it 4.5. Witches of Eastwick, another film I really liked, 4 stars. Halloween, the original, I don't know, there's really not much wrong with it. I think I'll give that 5. I mean, other than some characters, I don't know, 5, maybe that's a little too high. 4.5. Halloween 2, 3.5 stars. Halloween 4, 3.5 stars. Halloween 5, fuck, 1.5. Halloween 6, the theatrical cut, that is going to get 1 star. Halloween H2O, 3 stars. Halloween Resurrection, 1.5. Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, H2, 1.5. Halloween H4O, 2018, 2 stars. Blue Velvet, 4. Would I put Veronica on the same level as August Underground, Cannibal Terror, Alien Dead, a bunch of other movies I don't like? Yeah. It's in the same category, in the same pedestal of puke. Yeah, I'll look into that. I'll work on the best of 86 and best of 88 lists for Letterboxd as well as 1992 when I get the time. Can't wait for your reviews on Shallow Grave, Gremlins 1 and 2, Tokyo Godfathers, Pierre Noel, hopefully Die Hard movies. Not for Die Hard movies, there's always next year. Roger Ebert's awful review of Die Hard Rant. Yeah, I might try to get that done before the holidays because that review is terrible. It is easily the worst review of Die Hard that I've seen. More vlogs. Which character in 1988 suffered worse on Broken Glass? Tetsuo or John McClane? I would say both just had a really bad day when it comes to Glass. Since you enjoyed Vamp, Dee Dee Pfeiffer was a looker in that movie. Yeah. She had that girl next door vibe. Who knew the guy from Elm Street 2 was in it? I think Grace Jones is one of those singers who can still be good actresses, like these other ones. Depends on what you mean by good. I think she's got a good look to her. I think she definitely has a presence, but I don't think she's on the same level as Chris Christopherson or Deborah Harry or some of those other musicians turned actors or actresses. And then he mentions in March, I'll send you more gifts. Vigilante 4K, Die Hard, Muppet movies, cool. Tremors, nice. Since you can't even get that one on Amazon right now. Some more surprises. Next year, Fire and Ice comes to 4K. Says he'll get that one for me as well. Thanks, man. I have it on DVD, but that could look really good in 4K. Animation can really pop if it's got the right transfer. I hope they do American Pop. I really want to see that in 4K. Or at least just on Blu-ray and HD. Good reviews on the Evil Dead films. Talks about how he saw them when he was 6. And enjoyed them, as well as Army of Darkness. What makes fantasy comedy like Willow or Princess Bride no different than Army of Darkness? I don't even think Willow is truly a fantasy comedy. It has comedic moments, but I think it's more of a fantasy film at its core. It does have some comedic moments in it, but I don't really view Willow as a fantasy comedy. Princess Bride, I view that more as just a comedy that has fantasy elements. So with Army of Darkness, it's a film that's more of this hybrid between fantasy and horror with comedy, but less horror and more comedy. Her vaccines are on the way. Yeah, I can't wait. Can't wait for this madness to end myself. Says, what videos besides Halloween 3, films of 1980 Part 2, 1990 Part 2, box office bombs am I going to do? I'm going to do 1980 horror movies. He lists a bunch of 1980 horror films. I don't know. We'll see. Outside of those things, January, February, March, I'm gonna do Total Recall, Starship Troopers, Black Book, Tales from the Hood 3, Incubus, Entity, Rikio. He wants me to review August Underground Mortem. I'll probably review all those other ones that you mentioned before I get around to that one. But I'm not going to make any guarantees in terms of what month I'm going to be doing them in. Tales from the Hood 3, Incubus, Entity, those will probably show up sometime in January or February because I already have seen those and I want to do reviews for those. As well as a review I recorded ages ago for Mean Girls. I recorded that already and it's ready to go. I've just been waiting for the right time to post it, and I don't think it's the right time right now. So that'll be something that'll be posted as well. Zombie, some paid requests. Speaking of paid requests, I still have a review for Shallow Grave, the 1994 film, that will be posted sometime tomorrow. And I also have added the film The Haunted from 1991, the TV movie. I have that added to the list as well. I will try to get to that as soon as I possibly can. I will say for sure a review for that will be posted before the end of this month. And he mentions My Bloody Valentine, Batman animated series, a bunch of other films. Yeah, we'll definitely see. He wants to see the rant on the article of remakes. Yeah, I definitely want to do that. I'm just waiting for a little bit more ammo, but I'll try to do that in January, February, or March of next year. Um, then he mentions what movie is shittier, Veronica or Extreme Ops. Oh, I have to go with Veronica. Talks about Home Alone here. Do you think it ever occurs to Kevin to get a ladder or a chair to get Buzz's cards without wrecking his room? Or do you think Buzz deserved to get his room wrecked for being a dick for stealing the cheese pizza? Um, Buzz definitely deserved that for being a dick. I don't think Kevin thought of it because you'd be surprised. A lot of times, kids don't necessarily think the same way as adults do. So they just think more about, oh, I want to get it now. Not necessarily the safest or the most convenient way to get it. They're just like, I'm here. I see it. I want to get what I want. I mean, I can admit that I've done some dumb things before. Like, oh, I can get it. I can reach that thing on the top shelf, and then I make a mess because I didn't think it through. I should have gotten a stool, but I'm like, I don't need a stool. I could just jump up and grab it. So no, I don't think it ever occurred to Kevin. Since I remembered Saved by the Bell, I barely remember Saved by the Bell. I saw some reruns on TV when I was a kid, but I don't remember ever watching that much of it. Did I dig Tiffany Thiessen as Kelly? Well, I mean, she's definitely a beautiful lady, uh, I guess, but I didn't really watch a lot of it. He says he saw Showgirls on VHS. Yeah, I've definitely heard of that movie because he mentions Elizabeth Berkley. Would I put Three from Hell on the same level as the shitty sequels like Creepshow 3, Alien 3, Last Jedi, Lost Boys 2, Halloween 5, and more? Yes, I would. Because it's ultimately just as pointless as a lot of those other films. El Super Beasto had another voice thrown in the writing. Yeah, and that did help a lot. Because Rob Zombie definitely needs another writer if he wants to do another movie. What are my favorite Christmas movies? National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, Scrooged, Toys with Robin Williams. It is a Christmas movie. Trying to think of the original Silent Night, Deadly Night, Black Christmas by Bob Clark. Trying to think of any more. Well, I do enjoy Muppet Christmas Carol. That's a good one. Uh, I really like this film called Just Friends with Ryan Reynolds. I think that's a really underrated Christmas classic. It's absolutely hilarious. And trying to think of anything else. Oh yeah, Jingle All the Way and Home Alone. So yeah, I would say those are probably my favorites off the top of my head. I enjoy the. He says he enjoyed the Creep Show special for the first story. He mentions about limited animation. Yeah, I mean, it would have been nice to have seen better animation for the first story, but it was still a good story, so it still worked. Yeah, he mentions Ghost in the Shell has nice visuals, but it can't save a poor story. Yeah, I agree on that one. As controversial as that opinion is, um, he mentions how Eight Crazy Nights is an example of good animation wasted on a bad story. Yeah, and it says that Creep Show Halloween special first story makes up for it. Yeah, it does. Speaking of Creep Show, there's a Christmas holiday special that I haven't gotten around to watching, so I'll probably do a review of that. I also want to check out December, which is a horror anthology with like over 20 segments in the vein of like ABC's of Death. Talks about how the Tom and Jerry cartoon, I mean, it was pretty cool back in the day, and how the movie looks dated. Yeah, I'm not really looking forward to that either. Do you think the live action Ghost in the Shell surpasses the anime movies? Controversial opinion, just like my opinion on Ghost in the Shell, the animated film, the anime. Yes, I do think the film with Scarlett Johansson is a better film than the anime Ghost in the Shell movies. And I'm not going to take it back. He says anime fans are sensitive and all toxic when it comes to Ghost in the Shell 2017. I wouldn't say anime fans in general are that way. A selection of them, a smattering of them, are definitely that way. But I talked about in my review of the film, the creator of Ghost in the Shell didn't care about so-called whitewashing, and neither did most Japanese audiences. So, and also Motoko is not really strictly a Japanese shell. Not really established that it has to be a Japanese person, a Japanese woman as the shell of Motoko. So, I don't understand the outrage. I really don't. It says since I enjoyed Golgo 13, would I put Leonard Dawson on the same level as Dick Jones? Maybe not in the same level, but he's definitely close. Definitely close. Um, Gotta admit, Eddie Deason is a poor man's Paul Rubens. That's a great way to put it. He really is a poor man's Paul Rubens. He talks about kids. Needed a better writer to do the film better. His critics are wrong about the movie, even Peter Travers. I don't know if I would say they were wrong. I just disagree with his opinion of the film. What do I think of the critical praise for Halloween, Curse of Michael Myers, an Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror movies? The scariest Halloween of them all. I think it's a bunch of bullshit. Who the hell watches that movie and thinks it's the scariest movie of them all? There's a reason why the Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror movies is not really much of a thing anymore. It probably still exists, but it doesn't really have the importance that it once did, and or the clout. And it's for bullshit like that. Or what about the phrases on the back of Halloween Resurrections DVD saying terrifying? ABC TV, one hell of a fun movie by Fox TV, smart and scary, Knoxville Sentinel. Surprising and fun by the San Jose Mercury News. What I think about those, it's their opinion. They're entitled to it, but I definitely disagree with all of them. And Knoxville Sentinel, you know you are really desperate for praise when you are quoting the Knoxville Sentinel. Mentions Rob Zombie's Halloween, reestablishes Mr. Zombie's status as the modern American horror's most eccentric and surprising filmmaker. Matt Zweller cites the New York Times. I don't even think that guy is even writing for the New York Times anymore, so that speaks volumes. One of the most frightening stabathons in years, Kyle Smith, the New York Post. It will leave you speechless, bloody disgusting. It's bloody disgusting. To me personally, the quality of the reviews, the ability for them not to be disgustingly biased is suspect, to say the least. So I really don't take... I take anything that Bloody Disgusting says with a massive grain of salt. And something from H2, Tony Timpone of Fangoria, one of the most shocking original entries in the series. I have a lot of respect for Tony for what he did for Fangoria, but I definitely disagree with that. I don't think it's one of the most original entries in the series, or the most shocking. Maybe it is the most shocking in terms of how bad it is, and the decisions that are made that are just unbelievably daft on the part of Rob Zombie, but not shocking in a good way. An original, maybe it is somewhat original compared to the other ones, but also not in a good way. So, what does original really mean in terms of the quality of something if the original ideas aren't any good? Talks about Lords of Salem praise, the best Rob Zombie movie that he has made. Disturbing, LA Times, nerve-shattering, Chicago Reader, Rob Zombie's masterpiece, Loudwire.com. Beyond Hollywood says a full-on piece of satanic madness is light years away from 99% of commercial modern horror cinema. Another instance of I agree to disagree. I agree with those critics' claims, but then again, there's a lot of things that I like that critics probably aren't that big on. There's probably a lot of reviews that are crapping on the Blob remake. A lot of reviews at the time crapped on the Thing remake by John Carpenter. They called him the pornographer of violence. People said it was tedious, it was boring. So yeah, uh, just because they say something doesn't mean that it's necessarily wrong, but it doesn't mean I have to agree with it. They don't have to agree with my opinion either. It's just the name of the game. Do I think the director of Krampus and Trick or Treat and King of Monsters is talented, but he needs another writer? Yeah, I do. I actually think he would benefit from another voice in the writer's room. A more established voice, or maybe someone else who really is attuned to the kind of films that he wants to make. Then he says, I hope you have a nice Christmas and a new year. Sincerely, John. You too. And I hope you all have a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and the happiest new year that you possibly can have in 2021. Thank you for watching, and as always, I will see you all later. See ya.